establish SSG office hours. And notice the objectives on the left. Now, what you do when you go to management, and this is important for your future careers, you never go to management and say, we should do Geek Thing 4. They'll be like, Geek Thing, where'd you come from, right? Instead, you have to say, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could leverage teachable moments in the organization? Nobody's going to say no. Everybody's going to say, yeah, leverage teachable moments sounds like a good idea. You say, oh, well, in order to do that, we got to do Geek Thing 4. Now you're talking, right? So nobody says, we must have a static analysis tool. Instead, you say, don't you agree we should get rid of bugs that everybody knows about? You know, and that might be even a little too geeky. But it's this notion of objective that's really important. And there's a way of driving through this whole BSIMM thing, all in business speaky objective stuff, all the way to like motherhood and apple pie at the top. So nobody in their right mind would say, oh, well, I disagree, we shouldn't do that, you know. And that's an important part of getting one of these initiatives off the ground. And in fact, the people who run these initiatives, like Steve Lipner at Microsoft, are politically savvy, technically astute, and also able to speak business, understand what margin is, know how to justify the expense to an organization, and figure out whether or not the costs of what they're proposing are worth it before they propose it. So, you know, rare people. I haven't found a successful initiative that doesn't have one of these rare people in the middle yet, but that's just how humanity ticks. All right, so let's pick establish SSG office hours. Imagine we click on that one, and we go down into the paragraph, which describes the objective, the activity, and then gives an example. So in this case, the FSG offers the help of all comers during an advertised lab period or regularly scheduled office hours by acting as an informal resource for people who want to solve the problem. The SSG leverages teachable moments and emphasizes the carrot over the stick, which was a thing that we observed that surprised the heck out of me. You'd figure in a regulated environment like a bank, you could say, find your bugs or we're going to fire you. But they don't do that. They say, hey, we got a new bug finding thing. Everybody come use it. We'll teach you how. Whoa, carrots and sticks, they all use carrots. Holy cow. Really interesting. And security guys, they're all about the stick. Not going to work. The first generation of CSOs that you knew in New York, none of them are employed now. They all use the stick. They're all doing something in the Midwest now at like insurance corporations. That's where they all move to, right? So this is an interesting thing, and the level of leadership at the CSO level now is completely different than it was even 5 years ago.
Got too expensive to keep replacing people.
Yeah, sticks don't work. If you build an initiative around carrots, it's a lot better. So here's the example. Office hours might be held one afternoon per week in the office of a senior SSG member. Guess what? That's what Google does, right? Cool. And this was an activity that's so straightforward that when other people saw this activity in the model that they didn't do, they were like, dude, I'm so setting up office hours next week. Wow, what a great idea. And that's another great side effect of a model like this, is all sorts of cross-pollination. In fact, that was something that really didn't occur to me. You know, we gave a talk on this at RSA, and everybody goes to RSA, not because the talks are any good, because they suck, but just because everybody goes, and you have meetings out in the hall, or, you know, go drinking and hang out. That's where everybody gets together once a year to find out what's really going on. Very interesting social phenomenon, right? So the people that were in the BSIMM study sent us some email and said, hey, the BSIMM study was cool, we love our results, but we would like to meet those other guys. Could we all get together at RSA? And we were like, why didn't we think of that? Of course, we should all get together. And so they got to meet each other. So now when Brad Arkin has a problem at Adobe, which they're having some of lately, he can call up Steve and say, hey, Steve, how'd you do this at Microsoft when you guys were totally in the hot seat? What'd you do? And Steve can tell him. And they can leverage the stuff that Steve learned to figure out how to do things right at Adobe. Now, you know, Brad just got to Adobe, so he jumped right into the frying pan, or right into the fire, as the case may be. But he's got lots of good plans. Okay, there were some things that we observed that everybody does. These are the 10 things that everybody does. And you can see those activities right there. We wrote an article about the 10 things that everybody does too. Everybody has an advocacy role or an evangelist role. They would prefer to teach you how to do software security than to punish you. So they're not the cops writing tickets. Instead, they're the people who are here to help, which is an interesting thing. Everybody uses their own company history in their training courses with real examples of real security problems that that company actually had. Every company has code review tools. They all use some sort of static analysis engine. So these are things that, of the 110 activities, there were 10 that everybody does. Now the other thing you can do when you do something like this is you can build an average model. So you can see this spider diagram up here. The way this is computed is you take the data from all 9 companies and you say, I'm going to give them the high watermark score for their activities in that particular practice. If they did a level 3 thing, one level 3 thing, I'm going to give them a 3. If they didn't do any, but they did some level 2 stuff, they're going to get a 2. And you see how high watermark works? Now high watermark's very low resolution. It only failed in one case on this data set. And when we went to the company, it happened to be, well, I can't say who they were. We went to them and we said, hey, you got a 3 here, but you really just didn't deserve it. You deserved a 1. They were like, oh yeah. We thought you were crazy. But we crunched the data. It's a data-driven model. This is the average across all 9, this spider diagram. Now this is the 12 little spokes on the spider wheel are the 12 practices. You can compute yourself, which is the blue line, against the red line, and you can find out where you are either ahead of the average or behind the average. This is very interesting. This is a hypothetical data set. You show one of these spider diagrams to these guys, they were just absolutely flabbergasted and they loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. Coolest thing ever! Because now they know that the stuff they've been working on for 10 years is related to what other smart people are doing too. And before they were just doing it by themselves around their own campfire. Wow. Spreading news like that is a good thing. You can get one level deeper. Now I'm going to have to wrap this up quick because it's 50 minutes, right? So here is a way of looking at the 110 activities and denoting whether or not you carry them out or not. You get a 1 when you do something, and you get nothing when you didn't do something. See the red things next to the yellow things? The yellow things are the 10 things that everybody does. If you don't do something that everybody does, defined as 8 or more, then you get a red square. Does that mean you should do it? No! It means everybody else does. Now, just because everybody else does it doesn't mean you should, right? Didn't that what your mom told you that, right? Remember? So that turns out to still be true, but the model can just crank along and suggest that maybe you should consider that. And remember the things in the spider diagram where you were slightly behind the average, like here in compliance and policy? Gosh, they got a 1 and the average is a little bit better than 2, level 2 stuff. Well, we can do a blue shift on compliance and policy, and we can look for activities where more than 5 or so people are doing that, organizations are doing that, and you should say, you want to shift your average quick, consider these 3 activities. Because everybody's doing that and you're not. So it might be a good idea. Now, it might not work. This is not a smart consultant. This is just a data-driven model. Now you can use this data to really construct a very smart software security initiative, and in fact we've been doing that. I'm going to skip this slide. With 1 minute left, here's what I want to tell you about the model. We started out and released this model in March based on 9 companies. We released it under the Creative Commons, so you can use the data. You can use it however you want. Get the data and use it. You can use the model however you want. Our competitors can use the model. We don't care. It's about a yardstick, right? You can get the model for free at bsi-mm.com, and you can use it anyhow you want. We've grown the model. We started with 9. We've done 17 more. That's 23. We got 4 more underway. As soon as we get to 30, we're going to have statistically significant piles of data that we can slice and